Hello, this is Stuart from Hear Me, See Me podcast. I'm a lucky boy today. I've got two wonderful ladies with me today. I'm speaking to Liz McKeon, who's a beauty business guru, and also that she does work alongside Susanne Post, who has got the wonderful initiative called Shear Haven. It's a brief one. So if ladies, you want to sort of explain a bit more about what you both do, maybe this first.
Okay, so I specialize in salon turnaround and business development within the industry. And during one of the lockdowns, how Susanne and I met, it's during one of the lockdowns, I was feeling very sorry for myself at home one night at 7 o'clock on a Saturday night. I think it was Valentine's night actually, and I couldn't go anywhere. And I was just flicking through LinkedIn, and I came across this Shear Haven training. And there was nothing on TV, so I thought, well, I may as well do this on this link. And I did this little training that was 20 minutes long. And at the end of that, then I received a little certificate. And I remember thinking to myself, time goes on, but it brought me right back to a situation that I'd had like many years ago, where I literally had to flee for my life and go into hiding, and I was, so terrified. And I remember just sitting there after doing the training and saying to myself, oh my God, if this was now in Ireland, we weren't allowed to go any more than, we could only go 2 kilometers at the time during that lockdown. And I remember thinking, well, if I had to make a getaway now and I could only go 2 kilometers, I would be dead. That is really, the nuts and bolts of it. And it just stayed with me, and I just stayed thinking about it for a while. And then I had noticed, during all those months where salon owners, I might have seen them on social media that I might have worked with before, putting out posts of, if you, I know you can't come to the salon now, but, if you need me, just ring me and ask me for eyeshadow such and such. But if you need me to call the authorities, say such and such a color eyeshadow. And I'd observed all of this going on. So it just made me sit and think, well, I actually felt I had a responsibility to do something about this. And also, I've come across it in the course of my own work. So I thought, right, okay, everybody in our industry is starting to do virtual training, even though none of us have a clue how to use a computer. But anyway, everybody was doing virtual training. And I thought, I'm just going to put this out in a newsletter next week. You're all very busy doing virtual training at the moment. I suggest you do this. You might just save a life. And I thought no more of it, just sent it out. Nobody responded to me, like typical. Nobody said thanks or well done, anything like that. But it still stayed with me. And I thought, what, having worked in the industry for so many years, I just thought, it would be helpful to bring this to a UK and Irish industry, to our sector at this point. So we reached out to Susanne, and poor Susanne has had to put up with me since. So so it's sad, that there's such a demand for training, but it's very I feel very privileged to be in a position to actually bring it to the industry. So that's my background really, and how I met Susanne and Shear Haven.
Oh, and it's been such a pleasure. I'm so honored to be here with you today, Stuart. And of course, Liz is a delight. It's been amazing getting to know her through this initiative. But just a bit about my background. I've been a salon owner and a stylist in Nashville for many, many years, almost 30 years. And I'm also a survivor of domestic abuse. And my backgrounds kind of came together in 2017 after I heard that a law had been passed in a different state that was now requiring domestic violence education for all beauty professionals in their location. And it just hit me. I knew that it was something that initially I just needed to bring to my community. And so it started so small. I reached out to several friends who connected me with the local YWCA, which is an organization that is the biggest domestic violence service provider in our area, in our region. And we started creating this domestic violence 101 training that we provided in person, salon by salon. And it very quickly became evident that it needed to be bigger. I needed to be able to reach more people in Tennessee. And so I reached out to a local lawmaker and started the process of passing legislation in Tennessee that would require this training. And that's when it just started to expand. Basically, through COVID, I connected with the lead educator for Barbicide, Leslie Rosti, and that's when we created an online training, which was able to have the reach that it has now, which is how we got to the point of, me being able to reach Liz, for example, across an ocean. And, I'm happy to share more details about that story, but that's kind of how we ended up where we are right now. That's the very short version of how we ended up where we are.
But it's amazing. Really, I should have took the course, shouldn't I? Before, if I was a real professional.
Well, it's
confession time. I haven't done the course yet, but I will do the course.
Yes.
I love the part of it, because in what I do on my day-to-day basis is I come across a lot of women who are trapped, and some people who I meet some women who are actually fleeing, and they're in these refuges I go. But I did have a salon for 30 years, so I remember well. And there's that connection that we have as hairdressers, and same for beauty parlors and stuff like that. That you've got this trust, and you actually get intuitive with your client when you've done we only see them once every 6 weeks for a couple of hours, but sometimes they don't see their family for that much. Some of their extended family, and you get to pick up when they're off. And I used to, be fair, without any training, or before I had any experience with the charity I do now, I used to know when something was off. I used to know when by her language of, I'm not allowed to have it short. There's these little things will creep in, and the coercive control, and maybe the financial control. You get little glimpses of it anyway. So I think this is crucial. Your training is crucial to amplify what we've got naturally as hairdressers.
Well, and that's exactly, you touched on it perfectly, because isolation is one of the biggest indicators of there being something wrong in a relationship. Often people will be pulled away from their closest friends, their closest family members, and the salon or the spa may be the only place that they're kind of allowed to still regularly go. And of course, we know as beauty professionals that our relationship is so intimate with our clients, and our bird's eye view of what's going on in their lives, with seeing patterns regularly over months and months and years, we become so close, and we're able to see when something might be shifting, or if something just isn't quite right.
Yeah, definitely. So what does someone have to do to get the training?
It is a free online training that you can find through many places. You can find it on the YWCA Nashville. You can search Shear Haven YWCA and you can find it. I know Liz has a link on her personal page.
On my website?
Yes. So you can find it through Liz. Dermalogica has also come on as a partner. And so I know that they are also providing it through their platform. We've been touched by just how many industry leaders have really resonated with the training and have been able to offer it. But it's important to us that it always be accessed for free at no charge.
Yeah.
So it's 20 minutes. It's very easy. And there's a little test at the end that will give you a certificate.
Yeah. How does someone go about, what's your experience, Liz, of then implement it? You know, it's all right to have the knowledge, but then how do you implement it with that customer, with that subject?
So it was July 2021, wasn't it, really, where we launched it officially in the UK and Ireland. And, you know, I've been in the industry a long time, Stuart, and, you know, launched so many things over the years, but my phone did not. I had 2 weeks where I was just, you know, TV stations in Ireland fighting over it. And we got all the UK and Irish consumer press as well as all the trade press. So the appetite for it was just incredible. So that's just tell me the question again, Stuart. I've lost my train of thought. What was
how does then someone once you had the training,
oh yeah,
then implement it with a customer?
How do they implement it? But yes, that's what I was going to say. Back the feedback that I got from everybody in the industry was I didn't know what to say. You know, people would sit in my chair. I'd know by the bruising. I'd know by the, you know, makeup covering the bruising. You know, people saying they've alopecia where the hair has actually been pulled out of their head or whatever it is. The person, I think I've told you this, is on the lady that I go to, you know, in a salon. She told me she had somebody on her husband had cut off her fingers, and but she said she just did not know. And you know, the lady is a client for a long time, and she just did not know what to say. And what she said to me was that the training has empowered me now to know what to say. Previously, I didn't know what to say. So that was the biggest feedback that I was getting from people, that now from doing this little 20-minute training that most people could do, you know, when they're having their lunch, rather than being on social media just for one day. That was the greatest feedback that I got. Now I know what to say and what not to say. And, you know, if I have my certificate, gradually we're hoping that people get to see, you know, the way people in salons love their certificates, that the Shear Haven brand becomes known, so that consumers will get to see, well, I'm in a safe place now. So I think it's, you know, we all help and want to help and want to care, but we can't solve this. So just to be able to say to somebody, you know, just to listen, I have a number if you ever need it. This is a safe place for you. You can call me anytime. That was the biggest feedback that I got, that it resonated. I don't have to solve the problem for my client now. I just have to listen, and I know what to say and what not to say. And it's not about judging. It's just being a safe place and not feeling uncomfortable. What do I do? What do I say now? So I was really pleased with that so many people, because we all come across it. And that was the interesting thing. Nobody said, I don't know what you're talking about, Liz. I've never had anybody. Everybody was able to tell me instances where they've had it, but, you know, had people there, clients, but just didn't know what to do. So I think that's a really strong starting point, that we're now no longer afraid. If I've done the training, I'm not saying, oh, I hope that person doesn't come in because I don't know what to do and I don't know what to say. That's, I think, a great starting point for even a junior therapist or stylist, that they know now what to do and say and what not to do and say. That's it.
And what not to do or say could be as significant as what to say. I think that we are so naturally compassionate in our industry. You know, we really have the desire to help people feel better about themselves, help them problem solve. And I think that there were harmful ways that we used to insert ourselves, meaning well. You know, we would try to jump in and help give advice, but maybe it was harmful advice if it was a actual abusive relationship or something that was potentially dangerous. You need to carefully plan and get to the professionals that can give resources that can really help. And one of the things that we provide in our training is now downloadable, printable brochures and sheets that can be put in places like bathrooms or changing areas, where someone could tear off a number to a refuge or a domestic violence resource and be connected with the professional, the therapist that can really give the right advice for the right situation, because there's not a one size fits all. No. And yet, Liz, you're exactly right. Everyone resonates with it. No one ever says, I've never seen that. And we know, even statistically, by just getting education in this many hands, that if at least 1 in 3 or 1 in 4 women and at least 1 in 7 men will experience abuse at some point in their lives, that even just the person receiving the training may be the person that needs it. And so it's really been powerful. I know Liz and I have talked in depth about the kind of response that we've received from so many people that has really affirmed that this is a universal issue. This is something that resonates sadly with people around the globe.
Undoubtedly, I can say, because my daughter's very brave and very open, and she's got a following on Instagram, and she's called Crazy New Mama. If anyone wants to listen to her, she gets on my nerves, but like someone else might find it interesting. But she's been open, so I'm not jeopardizing her by saying that from a parent's point of view. It's so difficult to stand back and watch this happen to someone. The powerlessness, I've never felt powerlessness like it in my life. Even to the point of, watching my mum, last year was my mum, before that my dad, watching them pass away with cancer, you're so powerless, you can't do anything about it. This seems even amplified because you want to step in and make it happen. But when the perpetrator gets so far into their mind, is that she can have bruises and stuff, and you can say to her, "Has he hit you?" And it's, no, I got in a fight in the pub. And then when he pulls up outside, I can go to him and go, "Have you hit her?" Because if you have, I'm coming for you. Just so you know, I'm coming for you. And no, I haven't hit her. I've not hit her. And he goes, and it's that they're so controlling that they cannot even admit to what's happening to them, to the point where, as a family, we had to let her go. And she was only 17. Hardest thing we've ever done. But she came back. And I feel that if I had handled it differently, maybe all comes blazing, and you actually make them the hero, they become a victim, and then they cling to them even more. And there's a lot of people out there, and unless you've experienced it, you always hear, "Well, why don't you just leave them?" I mean, if I've heard it once, "Why don't you just leave them?" As if it's the simplest decision in the world. What do you say when people say that?
I think leaving is harder than staying.
Yeah.
And when you stand up to any bully, what's going to happen is they're going to up the ante. Yeah. And you're so flattened, the thoughts of it getting worse. So I'd stay because it's easier to stay, when the reality of it is, you're putting your life in danger by staying. But I think, well, certainly in my case, I knew if I annoy him that much, by God, am I going to pay the price? So you stay. Yeah. Because they own you. They own you at that point.
Yeah.
And I think that it's so nuanced, because there's also the hope. There's the hope that something will change. You might, because the cycle of violence is so confusing, you start off in such a honeymoon phase where someone is so charming and love bombing, and you are receiving things that you never dreamed were possible. And then it moves into the eggshell phase where you know that something is coming, but you don't know what or when. And then the explosion, which is, the smallest period of time in the whole cycle. It might be a brief explosion that's either a verbal onslaught or emotional, or it might be something, very painful and physical. But then it very quickly moves back into the love and the promises. And so, I think a lot of people are so entwined with someone that they have that hope that it will change. They think that if they just do the right thing, if they just say the right thing, that maybe they'll be able to get back to what they had the promise of at the beginning.
It's it never ceases to amaze me, the cruelty of people. And as you say, it's 1 in 7 men, so it's not all, you know, it's not just a one-sided gender thing at all. And a lady I met on my travels, I won't say which city it was, but I met her at a city, and she was at one of our sessions, and she sort of was, I had her out the corner of my eye, and my sister's like runs it with me, and she's the form ticker, and she gets everyone settled and all that. And this woman sort of like edged towards her a little bit, and then, you know, it was nearly towards the end of the session, and I saw her say to my sister, like, "Oh, do you think I can have my hair cut?" So I quickly motioned to her and said, "Look, I'll do that one," because I could see she was really vulnerable. And she had long, sort of straggly hair, you know, like the sort of very fine, straggly hair, unkempt. And couldn't do a lot, because sometimes we're just doing a little dry cut or something. But I just gave her a lovely little bob. And she came alive. After a little while, she started to talk more. She came, you know, and she was so pleased with this bob cut. And then she opened up to my sister, and she was saying to her that it's the first haircut she had in 7 years. So her partner was money controlling, coercive control, you know, financially coercive, sorry. And she wasn't allowed to have any money. You know, she would have to go and get his beer and that, but he would know, he'd give her the right money, or he'd know how much change he wanted. So she'd never have any money. So he got to the point where she, at one time, when she knew she had to go, was that he poured petrol over her in his drunken state. And she had to stand in the middle of when she was explaining this to us, I just couldn't believe. She had to stand in the middle of the living room, and he was sitting in a chair, and she was covered in petrol, and he had a lighter, and he kept flicking the lighter on and off. And at some point he passed out, and that was a point where he wouldn't let her go and have a shower. She's standing there with this lighter going off, and she knew she would be killed if she didn't get out then. So she managed to find where he had some money stashed, and she left that city with no possessions, just some money to get a train ticket. She went from that city to the city we were in, and she was in the process in that place of then being moved on to a safe house. Probably the most important haircut I've ever done, you know. And so my point is it's not sort of sharing horror stories. I mean, it took my breath away when you said that cut her fingers off, you know, that poor lady. But I think the point is saying that this is the extremes it can get to. So, you know, people need to know the extremes it can go to when they're at the beginning, starting to just turn a blind eye on some behaviours, because that's how far it can go if it's not dealt with.
Well, and our hope is that by opening up more conversations and reducing the stigma around, there's so much shame and so much stigma around this issue, that we can reach people with the early patterns, the warning signs, the recognition of what an abusive relationship is and what the cycle is, before it gets to such a terrible point, before it gets to that dangerous point. I think that being able to just offer those resources and the awareness, so many people have said, I just didn't know what it was. They say, you know, I've seen that pattern so many times in someone I love or someone I work with, but I just didn't know exactly what it was. And so, yes, please let us reach as many people as we can with that sort of information, just to start to make a shift in it. That's our hope, right, Liz?
Yeah, and I feel the timing is very good now, and I think, you know, a lot of positives came from the pandemic, and certainly at the end of 2020, one of the nicest things people kept saying to me, I was so happy about it, was people were saying to me, I didn't know I was so important in people's worlds, you know, as a hairdresser. I'm never going to say I'm only a hairdresser ever again. And I was just, oh my God, did it take a pandemic for you to realize just how important you are? So I think people's in the salon world, I think people's sense of themselves and you know their how and understanding that their interaction with their clients is so important and so valuable, you know, and it probably did take a pandemic for people to accept that. So I think, you know, certainly the people I've been talking about feel a little bit more confident in their role within their clients' worlds now, and have a better understanding of how important they are, and probably feel a little bit more empowered to recognize and help with this situation. Whereas I think, you know, years ago it was always, oh, I'm only a hairdresser, like I don't matter, I'm only the hairdresser. And I'm so pleased that has shifted to I'm very important.
Yes.
You know, people now take me seriously because I'm the hairdresser and I'm very important in their worlds. Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing, isn't it? That, and I've been doing it. I was 60 last year, so I've been a hairdresser for like 44 years, you know, like 45 years. And still, I can't believe I'm still hearing people say, I'm only an hairdresser. I'm just an hairdresser. You're just having a laugh. This is the most wonderful, giving, joyous, rewarding industry that's out there. You know, don't you dare say that.
Yeah. But now from this training to realize, well, I'm actually a lifeline in certain people, hopefully not too many, but I provide a lifeline, literally a lifeline to people now.
I mean, the great thing is we're lucky now. We've got a little army of about, I think we're over 600 volunteers in our little thing. So,
Wow.
you know, there's no reason now why I can then get the link and I can send it out to all our WhatsApp groups, and you know, and then but some of them work in salons with other hairdressers. So, you know, we may be able to get a big uptake just from our volunteers alone, which would be amazing.
It's wonderful. The more as people have gotten certified, there's also a way to share their certificate online, on Instagram, on Facebook, on social media. And, you know, just a few words about how it impacted them personally. And if you just search, you know, hashtag Shear Haven, you'll see so many certificates from people that I think we've reached maybe 130 countries, 100.
Wow.
Yes, 130 countries. I believe it's 81,000 people to date since we launched it in October of 2020. And, you know, just seeing how connected we are, the heart of what you do, Stuart, you know, clearly resonates across the world. You know, everyone in every community can reach people with giving of their time and their resources in that way.
Yeah.
And in the same fashion, I think it is powerful to see how people, you know, will take the training and talk to their coworker about it, and then suddenly 10 people in their salon are certified.
Yeah.
And it's truly a safe place for anyone who walks in the door. And so it's just that organic movement, and that's how people can really help, is just by spreading the word.
Yeah, fantastic. So what's the plans now? Where's it going to go next?
Oh goodness, so many plans.
Well, I think I'm just going to interrupt here. I think Susanne has been a bit coy here because it is now law in Tennessee, isn't it?
It is. Let's see, we are at about the 1 year mark from when the law went into effect here in Tennessee that requires the training for, not necessarily our training, but requires domestic violence education. So ours is the only online training that most people in our state use. But if they wanted to find an in-person training, they certainly could. But now every licensed barber, cosmetologist, esthetician, nail tech, and natural hair braider, as well as everyone in school for all of these wonderful industries, is now required to receive it here in our state. And we have had people from other states that have now reached out after seeing and hearing about what we've done, saying, we want to do this here in Montana. We think we need this education mandatory in Michigan or New Jersey. You know, there's people that around the country have now reached out wanting to pass similar movements and legislation. And so, yes, Liz and I have the dream of this being kind of a positive movement in that way, that people are inspired to spread it in that way, which would be amazing. And we're also working on getting it translated into a few other languages. So, as of now, it's only available in English, and people have clearly resonated with it, even just in English around the world, in South America and across Europe and in Africa and Asia. But and certainly Australia, if you look at where people have been certified, it's everywhere. But I just think we could have even greater reach with more languages provided.
Yeah, definitely. Have you got plans? Have you got plans, Liz, to bring it to like the Ireland and the UK as legislation? Is that something?
Well, I would need help with that. But I think yes, that would be a real good starting point. I know something has been passed in Ireland recently, that people get time off now for domestic violence, like paternity and maternity leave, that with domestic violence there's a certain number of days, not just in our industry but in industry in general, that people can now have time off. So it's starting to move in Ireland. I would certainly be very interested in bringing it to the UK, but I would definitely need help, Stuart. Yeah,
I'm there. I'm happy to come over.
Yeah, but I do think, it definitely does. Yes, there's no reason for it not to go that way.
Yeah, I think people in a good position to sort of look at that is the British Beauty Council.
Yes.
Millie Kendall, who's just, I don't want to give her any more work because she's got enough.
Yeah.
But people like that, in a position where she does speak to the government, and that's what you need, isn't it? Is someone to speak on the behalf of the importance of getting it into something like that.
It would have to be from the governing bodies, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And I think it makes sense. You need to put these things in the roots of things. The colleges, make it part of this college syllabus, so that every single college, so people are looking for it at that early stage, and they can learn and then get their experience as they go along. But get the idea of it, right at the beginning, the grassroots, where everyone begins their salon training.
Okay, Stuart, have I not got enough work to do?
Yeah, sorry. I'm good at that.
That's okay. Sorry, I'm recovering from a cold. Okay, right, I'll put that on my list.
Well,
Susanne,
anyway, I can assist, I'm more than happy.
You're welcome.
We'll team up, Liz. We've got this.
You'll have to come. Yeah, I mean, there's no reason why not. Why it shouldn't be on the syllabus. Yeah.
Oh, I think so. Yeah.
Well,
if I can help in any way,
thank you.
I'll only put it in other people's ears, but it needs to be. It's just such a no-brainer, and anyone who's affected by this knows the importance of it. It's just, you've done. We're having a laugh now, but it's so serious, and it's just, if you get, it's the thing. It's not just changing someone's day; it's saving someone's life. It sounds dramatic, but it's as important as that. I think, because you've said about, because when you're talking, I can't. Sorry, we've got a project in Dublin.
Oh, have you?
Yeah. It's one of, I haven't got favourites, but it's probably up there.
It's okay.
The Capuchin Centre in Dublin.
Oh yes.
With brother Kevin, and it's just a wonderful place.
Friars.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, they do incredible work.
Yeah, we've been there since probably only about a year in that we opened up over there, and we've got a great team of people there. But yeah, something I can put towards them as well. In fact, I say that is the judgmental thing of another thing that brother Kevin taught me just before he's just retired. Funny.
Yeah.
And he had a day, he was out in front one day, and a lady pulled up in a car, and she came in to get some stuff and went back to the car, and he stopped her on the way out. and he said to her that, why do you need to come in here if you've got a car? And she said, well, I'm really sorry, Brother Kevin, but the last time my husband beat me, he beat me so bad I thought he was going to kill me. So I've had to escape with the children, and we're living in the car. And he said to me, so we got them in and we looked after them, clothed and fed and everything that they needed. And he said, to that day, I've never questioned anyone who wants to come in. I've never judged anyone. If they're hungry, we'll feed them. We will feed them. And I think it's such a lesson. It's stuck with me for so long that even, you can never judge anyone. You never know their story, which is so important with what you're doing as well.
And everybody has a story.
Of course. Yeah. And we carry this stuff around, and but I'm so pleased that you've both come on. So what we'll do, we'll this on when it's all done, and we'll put links on, links for everything that they can go on. We'll have a link so people can tap straight on it and go straight to the training. And I'll encourage everyone. I know I'll be really encouraging. I can't order them because they're not employees, they're volunteers, but I will really heavily encourage them to do all the training. I encourage every governing body to get behind pushing this out. I think it needs to go into colleges, and I think we need to start at some point having it as legislation in our country, definitely, that it's mandatory as part of the education that we have.
Having it start at the beginning is such a good place to start, just with the foundation of the education, just moving into the industry. It's foundational because it's something that everyone will see as they start working with people, with their clients.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, I also think, though, on a different note, it's really important for employers to do this training, because, like I'm sure when you had a salon, Stuart, you had a big team of people. So, there can be people on your team that are suffering this as well. And like, if I know the signs, then I can spot it. And it has happened to me in a few times in the course of my work. Like, I can remember once I actually, went to go and work with the salon owner for the day. And in the end, I ended up like pulling her out of her house on her stomach, and then I had to get a barring order with the police and get her child out and all this. Now, if I hadn't had that background, I wouldn't have been able to help her. She had a big team. Nobody on her team would have known she was going through that. And then likewise, I've been working in salons with big teams, and I can spot, who's suffering at that point. But if the owner doesn't, if that's not on their radar, then they're not going to see it as well. So I think from all sides in salons, everybody needs to know.
So we need hairdressers, beauticians, everyone in the field that are helping people. But we also need the business owners. We need the colleges. The people who run the colleges, we need the people who have. We need all the people to do it who run all these bodies, the Habia and the
all of them.
Everyone needs to be doing that on top as well. So
yes.
I'll be having words with people I know.
Okay.
Well, let me just interject one thing too. Even though this is geared towards people in our industry, it is very, very important that it be available to anyone who needs the resource, because so much of it is universal. There is a small portion in the training that is specifically directed to salon specific or beauty industry specific signs, but most of it is just basic domestic violence 101.
Yeah.
And it provides very helpful resources for anyone who might need it. And so even if you run into someone, at a pub that, or at a store who needs something, if you just have that sense, you can provide it to anyone. Just pass on the link. Yeah. So there's no requirement for it to be someone in our industry.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely going to go outside of that to, hospitality industry. All sorts of industries could take that on as well. So if we covered everything, I don't want to miss anything out on this podcast. Have I not missed anything?
Well, I think more in terms of the numbers. So I keep, so I'm delighted now that Susanne is saying, hey, we're in 131 countries. So now I'm saying, right, okay, the next target is 150 and 150 countries. And then what was the other number? How many people have downloaded the training now, Susanne?
Well, 81,000
81,000
training. There have been more views than that, but it's 81,000 completions.
81,000. So then I'm saying, right, okay, we have to get it to 90,000. So this is the way my mind works. And then I think, right, okay, then we have to get it to 100. So always just pushing the bar.
Yeah, come on, people! Don't go on there and point. Don't press it and then look at it. You've got
Stop
to
doing that to me.
You've got to do the training. You must do it. Everyone likes the like button. You must do the action button. That's what you've got to do. Take action.
Yeah. You don't want to be saying,
no.
Oh, I wish I'd watched that. Now what am I supposed to do? Just watch it.
Yeah.
So my numbers can grow and I'd feel happy.
Well, if any way I can help, I'm more than.
Thank you so much. And
thank you so much for joining me. I've really enjoyed it, and I fair play to both of you, because it's a wonderful cause, and you really are, saving people's lives. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stuart. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So grateful. Thank you.
We'll keep in touch.
We will. And next time you're over in Dublin, let me know.
Oh, I'll be letting you know. Don't you worry.
I do.
Or in Nashville, Tennessee.
Or in Nashville.
It may happen. It may happen. Right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.